Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with one of the OGs from X/Twitter, Marcos. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Excited to be here. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, man. So I was going through your origin story. I was watching one of your previous podcasts, and we have something in common in terms of where the origin story started in terms of Forex. When I was 19 years old, one of my best friends from high school, one day he texted me randomly. He said he was at his dad's warehouse looking at investments and stuff like that. Had no idea what it was, but I was very interested because he was telling me, dude, like this thing, you can make a lot of money with it. You don't have to work at Ace Hardware. Like, I'll show you the way. And that was 2 years of my life that I obsessed over trying to figure this thing out. For yourself, I kind of just want to hear your origin story as to how you got into it and then how you got out of that game to eventually get to Birdhouse.
Yeah, I feel like that's how it always starts, right? It's like someone tells you about it or a friend of a friend, and then you get the bug. Very similar story. I originally, I was in college for marketing. Actually, I was in college for just business generally. So the story is that I wanted to be a forensic accountant. I wanted to join the FBI. So I joined the military after my first year in college because the idea to join the FBI, I don't know if it's still the same, but you need like 3 specialized skills. So my idea was my specialized skills are going to be uh, some sort of military intelligence and then forensic accounting. And then like I was going to learn Spanish or something. I don't know. So I was already in school and I was going to choose accounting. And then I went to the Army. I ended up doing IT, which was still kind of a skill. But long story short, when I was in AIT, which is advanced individual training, a buddy of mine showed me on his phone. He's like, hey, I was already kind of into entrepreneurship. I've always been like an entrepreneur as a kid. I sold comic books. I watched Shark Tank with my dad. So I was always into it, but I was never really fully on board until this guy showed me day trading. And it just like, I think it scratched like an itch in my ADHD internet kid brain. Cause I was like a gamer growing up. So I was like, I feel like it just scratched an itch, whatever it was, it resonated with me. And we ended up splitting that a course for $500. So 250 a pop, which at the time was like the whole paycheck. You didn't get paid much in the Army, especially training as an enlisted. And yeah, the rest is history from there. That was more or less not only my info to trading, but also my info to business because I bought a course. I started getting into like the whole internet marketing thing, got scammed a bunch of times, but like I just kind of stuck with it and made it out the other end. And that's kind of how the origin happened.
And what did you learn from being like deep in the MetaTrader, eventually coming to a
Yeah.
realization? To my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, obviously it's your story, where you start to figure out to work with someone else to do, was it like sales calls or intro to sales? Like you kind
Yeah.
of switched it up a little bit. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I ended up, so when I bought that course, I don't remember what exactly happened. I think what he was doing is he was bringing on affiliates. So affiliate marketing, which is, and I'm sure your audience knows, like affiliate marketing, great way to market your product. He was looking for
Mhm.
affiliates for his course, and I was like, okay, and another way. So this guy, he ended up becoming a friend of mine, but this
Mhm.
guy was preaching MSI, multiple streams of income. So I
Mhm.
was like, okay, while I have the army thing, I'm in school. I was in debt, but once I joined the army, I didn't have any more debt. So I just had that first year of debt. I'm like, I need more
Mhm.
income, and trading's not. I knew trading wasn't going to be consistent, especially early on. Like I had to get good at it. So I was like, okay,
Right.
let me get multiple streams of income. So that's where I was like, let me become an affiliate. So I started like a blog, like a personal blog. I became an affiliate on Amazon Associates, which is a terrible idea. Kind of got into the whole like ClickBank game, and then I was trying to affiliate for his course, which one thing led to another. I ended up becoming like at the time we were calling it like a success coach, which more or less was a modern day setter or sales rep. And then I started
Mhm.
taking like sales calls on Google Voice. So I was kind of doing it all. Again, this is early internet marketing. So like there weren't names for the stuff yet, but more or less modern day, I was a high ticket closer, a setter, an affiliate, and like customer support while also trading for this guy. So
Right.
it was never like a real W-2 or like even a W-9 role. It was just kind of like do it all.
Mhm. And so you had the idea of becoming a forensics accountant for the FBI. At what point did that change for you? Where you're just like, actually, I don't want to do this. Let me
Yeah.
just keep going down that internet rabbit hole.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Sometimes I watch like these FBI shows, and I'm just like, dang, like I could still see myself doing that. I just like it's just the itch in my brain. But like, I think once I caught the bug of the whole internet money thing, it was very difficult to go back. I remember as soon as I took a gap year, as soon as I went back to college while being actively in the National Guard, I switched my major to marketing, uh, more or less because it was the easiest major. It wasn't like I want to be a marketer. I was never like I want to be a marketer. I was like, this is going to be the easiest major that kind of relates if I market a business that I start. I had no idea what business I was going to start. Um, so I lost the whole FBI dream thing, more or less, just kind of replaced it with this, and then the bug never left, and I just was going all in on that.
Yeah. And then so after college and after you working in the Forex space, like at what time did you pivot to go towards like what you currently have with the Birdhouse?
Yeah. So funny enough, I went through college just kind of jumping on every shiny red dress syndrome you can
Hmm.
think of. So
Hmm.
I still was doing the trading thing all of college. I even gave like a super cringe. There's probably a picture of me popping up on the screen of me talking to, I was in a fraternity, like giving like a talk on trading. So fucking cringe, bro. Like,
I remember those in college.
I was like, you can make this much on one trade. I was like, it wasn't even, and I was never in like the whole pyramid MLM thing. Like I was
Hmm.
literally trying to be a trader. I never, luckily I steered clear
Right.
of all the MLM stuff.
Hmm.
What was it called? IML live or whatever.
Right.
They tried to get me in that. But through college, I did that. I jumped on a couple of other things. So I tried starting a couple of different agencies. I can't remember if it was the end of college or right after college. I tried Amazon pay per click, and I also tried like an SEO agency for IT MSP providers. So my idea was like, I always knew, I think it was Ty Lopez who said it. I always knew I needed to combine something that I already know or am good at with something that works. So I was like, oh, let me start an agency for IT people because I know IT and I can resonate with them.
Hmm.
So I was on the right track, but I never just like stuck with it because I had the shiny red dress thing, and also like when you have this day trading thing in the back of your mind, and everyone you look up to is ripping like 100K a day, allegedly.
Right.
It's very difficult to focus on business. So long story short, after I continued to trade up until 2021, and I was doing co live streaming. I was really like a guest on one of my good friends, Don Vo, who still day trades and live streams today. He's a beast. He's actually profitable. And I decided to like start a podcast. I was still trying like drop shipping, everything like that. So I was one of those kids, right? The do it all, never give up kind of kid, lose all your money constantly. Like, how does this guy have money if he's unemployed? I was that guy. Um, I was that stereotype. The truth is that I had the National Guard, and I would take like 90-day contracts, and you would get like, 7, 8K
Wow.
over those contracts. I'd juice back up, rip it back into trading or like whatever venture course I decided to buy that month, lose it all again, and then repeat. But it first clicked for me. I made some TikToks back in, this is a long-winded story. I made some TikToks back in like 2020 during COVID when I was stuck inside. And I ripped a little bit on TikTok around both day trading and side hustles. So I had like 10, 12K followers on TikTok. I used to be called Marcos Moves. I have a screenshot. So I ripped 0 to 10K early TikTok 2019, 2020. And then I got really good at Facebook drop shipping. So I made
Okay.
like 7 or 8K on Facebook drop shipping. Again, shiny red object syndrome. But this is all while I'm
Uh-huh.
doing this like day trading thing. So I'm just ripping whatever I can. I'm like yelling. I'm talking in the mirror like, "You're gonna make 10K a month. You're gonna make 10K a month." And long story short, anyone who's watching who's like an internet person, you kind of just are there and you're in the moment, so you're able to capture trends. And this leads into the Birdhouse, but I was able to essentially, since I was so tapped into everything at all times and I had no fucking job, this was my job, was literally being tapped in. I caught the whole crypto thing. So I caught the whole
Ooh.
2021 NFT crypto thing, and that I hooked on that. So like that was like my first big win. Made a lot, lost a lot. Um, I remember like, I mean, I was early. I had Pudgy Penguins at 0.01. Like I minted Alex Becker's NFTs. Like I minted them. And if anyone knows anything about it, you had to do all these
Mhm.
riddles. Like I minted, if this means anything to the audience, it's going to be funny because I minted Azuki. I minted Hape Beast. I didn't mint Pudgy. I got it below mint. And I got multiple of
Wow.
those. That was my first like 30, 40K win ever. So I did a lot of good stuff in the NFT space, and it allowed me to move out of my parents' house, moved to New York City, which is where my girlfriend, now fiance at the time, was living. And I was just chasing after her, got my first studio apartment. I probably had like 10, 20K in the bank. I know for a fact I got my first 10K cash in the bank. I took that out. It was like, holy shit, I'm rich. And then long story short, the market crashed. So I probably have like 10K left because I was living large in New York City. I was traveling. I took my girlfriend, now fiance, to Tulum, all this stuff. I haven't told this story in this much detail in a long time. And that's when I was like, all right, I need to make something work. So I'm like, all right, what expertise do I have now? And I knew I had a marketing degree. I knew I was tapped the fuck in. I was cooking on Twitter from crypto NFT Twitter, like NFT profile pictures. I had thousands of followers at the time. So I was like, all right, let me try copywriting because that's what I'm good at. I've done marketing. I've done the internet thing. Within like a few, I was doing Upwork articles on Fiverr and stuff, or no, on Upwork. I think I tried Fiverr and I was doing some cold DMs. I just pivoted to Twitter ghostwriting. I saw someone tweet it, and I kind of knew I was going to be in the writing thing, and I knew I was really good at Twitter, and I knew how to go viral. So I was like, I'm pivoting from copywriting to ghostwriting. This was in the beginning of 2022, and that's the origin of the Birdhouse. It was originally called foundertweets.com.
Dude, there's so much that I
I
want
know.
to touch up on here because
Go for
it's crazy because
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people out there that have a very similar journey. And for myself,
Yeah.
bro, there's so many different pieces where I saw myself in
Yeah.
the Forex. That's where I started.
I think the
After
kids call it what, trenching now. Like you got to be in the
I guess
trenches.
so.
Like that's what they're
Yeah,
calling it, the trench. They didn't have a word for it back then, but it was the trenches.
exactly. So
The
I was
internet
in the
trenches.
Forex trenches, bro, for like 2 years. And
Yeah.
after a while, a buddy of mine, he was just like 10 times smarter. This guy studied actuarial science. He knew how to code and probabilities. And he was just like, bro, this is effectively cooked. Like we can't outperform the S&P 500. So I was just left there in the back of my job, and through a friend of a friend, this guy he started an e-commerce business where he was selling bikinis, and this guy was my age, and in 5 months he was making like 60K a month. And I was just like, whoa, this doesn't seem real. Like, how are you making 60K a month? I'm making like 45K in a year, and I'm just stuck in an office all day. So I got into the drop shipping. After a year and a half, I eventually found the trend with bucket hats in Australia and New Zealand, and I was ripping meta ads, and I sold like 600 bucket hats in a couple months. Then that died out, and then I got into crypto late. I'm not gonna say I was early, but I got into that eventually. I got into the NFTs. I got into the V Friends, World of Women, Pudgy Penguins way
Yeah.
later.
I
But
had World of Women.
yeah, and bro, like that whole NFT world was another thing that outside of my job I was just so invested in because I was like, dude, this is gonna be the thing that gets me out
Oh,
of the trenches.
I feel like the crazy thing about the whole NFT space is like I was a believer and I was just so dead wrong. But like that delusional optimism is the only reason it worked for me. Like the only way you could
Right,
have had success is being delusionally optimistic. Like the people who were pessimistic were like, this is stupid, like this isn't gonna work, this isn't gonna make any money, are the people who missed out. And then the people who are delusional, you basically, what do they call it? Retard maxing, like straight retard maxing. I'm just like, this is gonna work, like this is the best thing of all time. Those are the
right.
people who made the money. So it was like, would you rather be right or would you rather be rich? That was like that scenario, like in a
No,
nutshell.
100%. I went to VCon, Gary V's conference for the first two. I went to the one in Minnesota, and just the level of excitement was through the roof. And I had met some 20-year-old that he was studying computer science. And bro, this guy had like over $500,000 in NFTs with the Bored Apes and the V Friends. And I was
Mm,
just like, yo, this
yeah,
is nuts. Like this kid is
yeah.
20 years old and he legitimately has 500K. Like this
I
guy's
never
not
made it.
bullshit.
I wish I made it to that level. Like, if I made it to that level, it probably would have been a different story. Like, I was like just on the cusp of that level, but I was never like a Bored Ape holder or anything like that. Like crypto punk, like that was the level I wanted to be. I had crypto
Right,
punk on my vision board. But
right.
I will say, like Gary V, shout out him. Like his projects are like they're awesome still. Like they have
100%.
really good utility. Like I'm out of that scene, but I know I follow Gary just as an agency owner.
Hmm.
And like he has like his fly fish club in New York City, and like shout out
Hmm.
him. Like he does it right for sure. One of the few, if only, projects that like made it out the other side, like legit.
100%. Yeah. And not to go into NFT tangent, but I still feel slightly optimistic about the for example, V Friends, and an example of he could continuously curate events, and that could be related through like a NFT that he airdrops and creating experience. So I don't know. I'm still kind of optimistic on different projects, but for the
Yeah.
most part, that high of what we experienced in 2020, 21 of that dopamine, I don't know if we'll
Yeah.
see that height again.
I think
But
the
either,
technology was always great. Like I still
yeah,
believe the technology is useful, but there's just so many bad actors that just got overshadowed with all the scamming and everything like that. But now with the
exactly.
AI wave, I feel like it's almost gonna be like Web 4, like Web
Mhm.
3 2 point, like the second coming of Web 3 will probably come after AI settles
Yeah.
and like it have real utility because again, it was just like the bad actors just gave it
Yeah. Now to your
such bad
point,
publicity.
100%, dude. I remember I met Gary once and I asked him, I was like, this was after the hype, it all died out. I was like, oh, do you still think like NFTs have a chance? And he was pretty much telling me like 99% of the projects are dog shit and like the 1% of the 1% will survive and like, go on, like the
Mm-hmm.
Pudgy Penguins of the world that have real
Yeah.
founders and are building, they're all over Walmart and stuff like that. So Marcos, to pivot back to your story, right? Like you've talked about your arc, and it seems like the common thread that I see in your story and my story as well is trying so many different things. And to your point, this seems to be the one thing that really messes a lot of people, where they're trying to do so much and nothing sticks in the context of personal branding. What does the Birdhouse do to help individuals find that niche and help them actually make money?
Yeah, so I'd say, we are heavily focused on businesses and business owners who are a little bit further down the journey. So, like, for one, we don't work with beginners. I
Mm,
find that to be hard,
mm,
mainly because what we specialize in is we bring on a founder, an investor, a business owner, a CEO, whatever they are, an author, and they typically have like really great expertise. They have really good experience, really great story. They might even have like a newsletter or a YouTube channel or something like that.
mhm,
Where we come in is we can digest all of that great expertise, results, information, and turn it into a way that people can easily understand, because most people struggle with simplifying their ideas. So we're able to simplify their ideas into a way that people understand so they can actually grow an audience, because that's where most people struggle, is they're just speaking in lingo or they don't know how to package it correctly, especially on a per platform basis. And they also don't know how to go viral.
mhm,
So understanding what's trending in their niche, or just how to bring real world trends and things that people actually care about, and actually relate that to the client's topics and relate that to the client's information. Like, for example, if we were to bring on a client who is an author of a negotiation book, which is something that a recent prospect that we were talking to. Like, it's very easy to like just tweet about negotiation or to make a LinkedIn post about negotiation or something like that. But how do you actually appeal to the broadest audience, right? Like, you can have high level hooks. You can break down very popular negotiations. Like, I don't know, I'm already like, my gears are turning. I'm like, how do you break down the recent LeBron to Philly thing from like a negotiations perspective and like talk about how that happened, or Vinicius Jr., who's going hopefully to Arsenal. That's just like where my mind goes. Like, how can I tie his expertise to trending topics, so that's number one. But then even just like the super basic stuff, like, 5 ways to get a yes on a sales call, and like turn that into a listicle, turn it into an infographic, package it in a way that it actually performs. That's kind of what we specialize in.
mhm,
Not so much finding like their niche, because again,
mhm.
that's like, you can almost have to do that by doing the thing. So we
Right.
work with people who've already done the thing.
And with that being said, right, like in your own journey, Marcos, you've tried a lot of things, just like a lot of people. Like, how did you know this was your niche? Like, was it
Mm-hmm.
just through trial and fire, like just trying so
Yeah.
many different things? Eventually, it all kind of lines up to making this thing.
Yeah. I think like, they say like the definition of insanity, right? I think like eventually I kind of just I was just like sick of my own shit, and I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna stick with something. I think that's part of it, and like understanding that I needed to stick something through the tough times for once.
Mhm,
But also just getting a little bit more old, just getting older, more mature. Like, I started this business I'm what am I, 28 now? So I started this business when I was like 23.
mhm.
My brain wasn't even fully developed. So I think like maturing while building this business is part of that, but also it's like seeing results early on also helped. Like, I know within 3 to 4 months of within 3 to 4 months of starting like this business hardcore and pivoting to the Birdhouse from what was originally founder tweets, I started doing these like big lead magnet giveaways that were like full case study breakdowns and how to's, and those crushed. And that took me past 10K followers. And I was like, all right, I have something here. Like I was able to see enough success within the first 6 months where my brain wasn't going to let me quit. So I think that was also part of it. So I think that part of it's timing, like,
Hmm.
being able to time it, because Elon acquired Twitter only like 4 months into me starting the company. So that's like pure luck. You know what I mean? I had no idea that Elon was going to acquire the company when I started it. Who knows where we'd be if it was still Twitter and not X? I have no idea. Maybe that'd be good. Maybe that'd be bad. But so part of it's definitely timing, but I'm a big proponent, and this is one of our values, is create your own luck. Like that luck only happened because I tried all the fucking things for the 6 years prior.
And you talked about creating that lead magnet that crushed and you got 10,000 followers. One of the thoughts that came to mind is something that I feel is very popular in the sense of what comes first, the chicken or the egg, in the sense of what comes first, the product or the followers, meaning that a lot of people have in their mind, and this is something that I've struggled with in my own life before, like a couple years ago when I was making content originally on TikTok and Instagram. I was like, bro, I just need to get more followers to make money off this. And after a year and a half, when I'm just looking at it, I'm like, dude, I have barely made anything. I ultimately realized, no, like I actually need to figure out a way to bring in actual leads and have sales calls and have a product, right? So from your perspective, do you feel like it's important to just focus on growing your audience or figure out the product first? How do you view that?
Yeah, like I think it's weird. It's almost like do as I say, not as I do, because I definitely grew my audience while figuring out the product. But I'll say, like, if you, the thing about the unique situation around my product and my brand is that I'm teaching, or I'm helping people build personal brands. So I knew I needed a personal brand, because the biggest objection, and I would get this early on, was like, well, why the fuck would I work with you? I got more followers. Like,
Right,
which is they're
right.
dead on, like they're dead right. And like now that I never get that objection, one, because I have followers, but two, because their case studies are so big. But at the time, especially early on, people were like, why would I work with you? I literally am better than you. So like part of that was like, for me, was speed running like the proof.
Right.
I think like you should build the product first, uh, if you want to market while building, because I've definitely had early on clients that did that. You have to monetize it from day one, so that, because you need, what you need is results and case studies that you can then use back into the content, and it creates a bit of a flywheel.
Hmm.
Nowadays, like 99% of people we work with already have the product. But I understand there's some merits, like the whole build in public. That being said, like I think the whole documenting the journey, build in public, can backfire if you don't do it right. I think it can be low authority, and I think it's like you have to do it in a tasteful manner. So like when I did it, I would literally release lead magnets. I would go, so this is before it was popular, but I would do like, I'd hit 10K followers, and I was like, this is, here's a full playbook on how I hit 10K followers immediately. You know what I mean? And that would go viral. And then I'd be like, here's a full playbook on how I went viral. And I'd just keep doing it, and then telling people how I did it, and then do it, and then tell people how I did it. And that was kind of my flywheel. But I think outside of building a personal brand, which is my niche, you should probably have the product first.
Yeah, it's pretty profound what you just said. Like basically the content comes through the proof of work. Like you achieve X, now you actually can write about it because you have something of substance and people can
Right.
validate. Now, Marcos, my question, right? There's so many people trying to build personal brands. What do you think is like the number one biggest fuck up that people have when doing this, right? I feel like there's a lot that has to do with being too broad, which is one of my biggest fuck ups, of thinking I could talk about mindset and fitness and finance like I'm Tim
Yeah.
Ferriss or something. But what's some of your takes that are like no
Yeah.
brainer fix?
I think people, let me think. I think the mistake a lot of people make when they build a personal brand is, I think there's two mistakes. I think one is they don't add the personal side. Um, I think to build a personal brand, it needs to have personality. So
Mhm.
whether it be personal stories, whether it be opinions, whether it be like day to day life stuff, I think that stuff is very, very important, because that's going to be your number one differentiator, is like who you are, and people resonate with your story. They see themselves in you. So
Hmm.
I think that's part of it. But I also think the other part of it is not understanding like where they are in their market.
Hmm.
So, for example, if you are building a personal brand and you are in a very saturated market, aka a market that has a lot of competitors, there's already a bunch of personal brands around it, a lot of people are creating content about it. You need to have something that sets you apart. Or
Hmm.
you could be coming in and be creating a new niche, like there's nobody really doing your thing. Then you
Hmm.
don't have to worry about that. But I think people don't understand that. So, like, I'll give you like a common one is like a YouTube editor or like a YouTube agency owner. How many YouTube agencies and YouTube editors are there? Thousands of them, and they're all building a personal brand, and they're all creating content, and they're all posting case studies, and they're all doing cold outreach. So it's like, how are you going to differentiate yourself now? I find that there's a couple of ways that people differentiate themselves in the YouTube niche now. So like a few examples would be like having extremely big name case studies. I worked with this name. I worked with this name. I've seen like guys who work with like Ali Abdal or Cody Sanchez or like Mr. Beast was another one. Like the problem with the Mr. Beast one is he has such a big company that there's like 50 now there's 50 people who used to work for Mr. Beast that have personal brands. But
Right.
again, at the time when they were coming up, I know someone who said that and it worked really well. So you kind of have to have that differentiator to you that's going to help you stand out in that saturated niche. Or if you're in a niche of one, then just like rip it. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
but also what I find with just a little bit more nuance and a practical tip is a lot of people who are in a niche of one don't realize that they're in a niche of one for a reason is because it's not sexy. So if it's an unsexy niche of one, you need to figure out how to make it sexy and like make it appeal to people. So there's just a lot of nuance, man. Like building a
Hmm.
personal brand is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard, 100%. It's a lot of effort.
Yeah. To add on to that, I was reading this book by I think Seth Goodwin, The Purple Cow, where it's like you have to do something that makes people just like stop and be like, "This is pretty fucking different." Like I've
Mm,
never seen this before in my life, and it makes people actually like freeze and pause. And to give you an example, right? I realized this about a couple of weeks ago on X, where I'm trying to continuously get more guests, and specifically, let's say with someone like Tim Ferriss, when I was going through his profile, when I would read his replies, I kind of noticed a trend where a lot of them were basically the same thing. Like it was typically like one or two sentences, and all of them looked super edited in the sense of the grammar's perfect, the spelling, and it's like the same thing. And for myself, I started taking like 30 minutes to do a reply on his post with a personal story, like you mentioned, putting pictures of my story and how it resonated and applied to his own life. And he like retweeted two of them in like one day, which
mm.
he's someone that doesn't really repost content like that. So myself, I was just thinking outside the box and trying to do something different. And it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It was just more so like the thoughtfulness that came into the actual post itself. So the question I have for you to follow up with that, Marcos, is like you specialize in creating content. There's a big question that lies now as to like with AI, with Claude and ChatGPT, is this saturating the market and making it extremely harder for people, or is it the inverse where people can actually stand out because everyone's using AI, so the one that doesn't use it can potentially, stick out?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Like I think the top it's kind of like everything. Like I think the top 1% of people are just going to get so much, not even gonna, they are getting so much better with what they can do because they truly understand like the fundamentals. So like for
Mm-hmm.
us, we can use AI in a profound way that most people can't. One, because we have tens of thousands of data points on pieces of content that work and drive in leads and grow audiences in different niches. So we're able to use AI in a way that amplifies what we do, but
Mm-hmm.
the 99%, the bottom is just you making more and more and more terrible content that is definitely saturating. But I also think like AI is like the AI content that's not customized is just like very easy to see. So it just kind of
Mm-hmm.
hurts your personal brand. So I actually don't even think AI has made personal brand building harder. I just
Mm-hmm.
think it's made more people do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If anything, it's amplified. Like we like for us, we used to hire writers because we were ghostwriting.
Yeah.
But now they're not really writers. I don't really care. I don't have a job description for them, but if I did, it'd be a lot more than writing. Like everyone on our team is a creator. Like they all now graphic design and they all write and they can all video edit. and they can all clip and they can all do all these things because AI has empowered them to have so much more capability. So like that's an example, is like a good creator is just going to get way better. And the bad creators are going to get way worse, or just be worse more often.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So you think like the AI can amplify obviously the skill of someone that you hire. Now they could handle like different tasks versus just purely focused on writing, right? That's kind of the
Yeah, like I think a lot of people see like AI slop content and they're like, well,
Mhm.
that if that person has AI slop content, then all AI content is slop. But they
Mhm.
don't. The problem is people don't realize they don't even know something that could be made with AI that they're like, oh, that was definitely human, is made with AI, because it looks so it's indistinguishable. So the best, let's call it like
Yeah.
the best AI content, it's indistinguishable from human. So you have no idea if you're reading something that's AI or not. You just think it's human, and that person could just be really good with AI. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like,
Right.
anyone that's just raw dogging like a ChatGPT prompt for like for content like that, yeah, that stuff's ass for sure. I would never
Right.
do that.
Yeah.
But it's hard to like, because people just assume that the good stuff that they see is not AI, but like I can assure you a lot of it is.
Yeah.
You just don't know, because the top 1% of users are not going to be sharing the sauce.
100%. No, that's
Yeah,
super spot on, bro. Like
yeah.
from when I first started using chat and Claude to now, I've done it way better. Like now there's this thing called is it promptcowboy.com that you could
Mm,
enter a prompt and then it'll just go into detail, and then when you put it into Claude, it just completely
yeah.
changes what you get out of it. So there's so many different nuances and levels to it that for sure you could get it to a point where it's just not writing so robotic, and give
Yeah.
it, your original work from the past 5 years, and now it starts to learn how you talk and speak.
Well,
Like, yeah,
it's all data. Like, for example, you spent, how many episodes have you done?
I've done around like 60.
So you've done 60 episodes, right? Let's just say you did 40 episodes before you started using AI. The difference between someone starting a podcast that day and you using AI and them using AI is they don't have the previous 40 podcasts as data. So like for us having years and years of data of handwritten content, we can create content the same if we really wanted to with AI, because we
Right.
already have tens of thousands of pieces of handwritten content, and you just have AI framework it and replicate it and templatize it. So for you, if you
Mhm.
haven't already, you can run Fable 5 through 40 podcasts in a row, or even just your top 5 performers. You
Mhm.
framework and templatize the top 5 podcasts from a script and question perspective and a flow perspective. And now you have a template for the flow for future podcasts. And then you just run a research agent against that person, or you do your own research if you want to do it manually. But you could just have an agent do the research on your future guests, run it back against that template that was based on the top 5 performers, and now you have a top 5 performing script or a top 5 performing flow questionnaire, however the fuck you do a podcast. But then you also just keep learning over and over again. Every time you have a new top performer, what was different? Edit the script, edit the template, and edit the framework, and then you keep getting better and better. So like you having 60 episodes versus someone coming in now and trying to do an AI slop research and an AI slop podcast script or something, it's just not going to work as good. So again, it just amplifies the people who already have the experience in the data.
And to that point, so how much data is the minimum necessary to actually get like high quality work in your experience? If, for example, someone's trying to write content or record
Yeah.
podcasts, like what is the minimum? Like, does someone need 30 email letters for
Yeah.
IR you know what I'm saying?
I think it's like there's not like I don't think there's a set number. I think it's different for every deliverable, like if it's an email or it's a piece of content. I will say
Mm-hmm.
content. So the difference between doing emails and then doing content is that content has an algorithm that it has to win. So you have to basically win an algorithm every time you post. So if
Mm-hmm.
the algorithm is constantly changing, an algorithm is just another word for audience. So the appetite of the audience is constantly changing. You have to constantly be updating the types of stuff you're creating. Whereas an email is an email is an email. There's no
Mm-hmm.
algorithm it's going to send to your subscriber no matter
Right.
what. So you can, so like for me, my emails, like I have agents that improve the subject line based on past performance, but it's much different than like trying to have foresight on what's going to crush on the algorithm next week, or knowing what went viral yesterday and trying to capitalize on that. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things in the content game that are just not impossible, but very difficult to use AI for. So you can use AI to
Mm-hmm.
assist, but not to replace,
Right.
and more so amplify. But like honestly, just as many as you can on anything is great, until depending on the LLM, there's limits. Like I know people who try to analyze sales calls, they try to do 1,000 at once and it like breaks. But you don't need 1,000. Like you can do 100 and probably get like 95% of the way there. So I think as many as you can without just eating up all your tokens is ideal. But also like each LM has a context window. So I think like, I don't know, Opus 5 or whatever is like 256,000 or a million. Like they have context windows. So there's things to worry about for that, but you can get super technical. But ideally as many as you can.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, to that point of the content game, we talked a little bit about AI. I was watching this interview you had where you talked about how you went to, I think it was a seminar of Grant Cardone, and you had this moment of realization where like, fuck, dude, this guy, the volume that he is doing necessary to get the results that he is getting is like insane. For yourself and for myself, I kind of want to geek out on X for a little bit. What are some of the like the non-negotiables that people need to be doing on X to actually do it appropriately, right?
Yeah. I think for X specifically, yeah. So I saw that mastermind and he had given out this like, I think I went to that event for like 45 minutes, literally just going through a segment, and then I did. I got what I needed. Like that's how most of these events goes. I kind of get the nugget, and I'm like, I don't know. But he had this like workbook, and it showed his frequency. Grant Cardone's all about frequency, and it was like, I'm going to paraphrase heavily. I might butcher it, but it was like, bro, it was like 50 tweets a day, 17 YouTubes, 62 Facebook posts, like 93 LinkedIn. Like it was just nuts. Like I don't know the actual numbers, but it was a lot of frequency, more than you can imagine. So that was like, all right, back to the drawing board. That kind of led to an offer that we launched, which is crushing. But yeah, the frequency was nuts. So for X, like bare minimum, you want to post at least 3 times a day. I prefer like I can do like 5+, but I'll typically only schedule 3, and then I'll just kind of off the cuff a few because I'm on the platform all day. So like if I'm on a walk or like this morning, I was recording reels at like 6 a.m. this morning, so I just like off the cuff tweeted. So I'll typically go at least 3 times a day, sometimes more. And then I mix up the frameworks. Like X is the everything app, so you can go video. You like for you podcast, you can do full podcast with timestamps. Highly recommend. You can do short form clips daily. You can do tweets daily. You can do threads daily. You can do articles. You can do replies. Like there's a lot, right? If I included replies, you can go way more, but there's a lot of stuff.
For myself, the thing that's been hitting recently for the past 5 months has been the articles. At least for myself, it's been doing fairly well. And also replying in terms of engagement, in terms of the number specifically, like impressions, it's not like the greatest, but I have seen like very credible people consistently starting to like reply to mine, repost, retweet. And I feel like that builds a sense of authority and potentially like a genuine connection with them that if I would like them to be on my podcast in the future, I think there's a higher probability to do so. So for myself, I'm looking at it from that vantage point as well. It's like, how can I build genuine relationships on X as well? And to add on to that story that you talked about, how Grant Cardone posts like 50 posts a day and all these different things, I saw that you also mentioned about like the necessity of having a team. Like we can't just be John Wick and do everything ourselves. For yourself, at what point did you realize I need to start hiring people? Because yourself, you're the internet guy trying Forex, then you tried multiple different businesses. At one point, do you realize, all right, I need to get a team behind me?
Yeah, it was pretty early on. I mean, like I think even at the smallest level, but up to the highest level, like I always preach to clients, like you can't just do this all yourself. Like I know people who try to like rip AI agents to run hundreds of pieces of content. It just becomes the quality control is just terrible because of the context that it requires to run it at a high level. So like even us, like I'm always like, you need to hire the content team. We're that content team. But back to your question, like I hired my first assistant. She was essentially like a do-it-all person in December 2022, and I started the business in the summer of 2022, so like 6 months later, because there was just so many tasks that I was doing that weren't the stuff that I knew was going to generate revenue. Like at the time, it was marketing, sales calls, and fulfillment. So I hired an assistant. Her name's Sonia. She's now my director of ops. She's been with me since day one. To do just monotonous tasks like DM settings, some operational stuff like that, right? So within 6 months, I kind of already knew, especially in an agency, it's like it's a people heavy business model. I think nowadays it's less so than it used to be, but still people heavy business model. So I think right away, and I hired writer number 1 January 2023, writer number 2 in like March 2023. So I was team of 3, team of 4 within a year. But to your point, like I think part of it was like I just knew I needed the help, but also I like never really wanted to be a solo operation. Like that solopreneur dream. I think I've always preached that it's stupid. Like I think solopreneur is overrated and human connection is super underrated. And I think people think that they want to be a solopreneur, but they really don't. Like you want to be fulfilled and you want to have like connection with other people and have a relationship with people and build friendships and like all this stuff. So I'm a big anti-solopreneur guy anyways, but I knew I needed to hire early on because holy crap, it was a lot of work. I had a client like years ago who was paying us like it was like one of my first clients. He was paying us like $8,000 a month. I say us, he was paying me $8,000 a month. And I was doing daily Twitter threads and daily emails. It was like so much work. Daily emails, daily Twitter threads, and I'm trying to also like market for the business, do sales, do his client calls, do the fulfillment, like go to the gym, have a relationship. That was a lot, man. I remember I always tell the story, like I used to brew a pot of coffee at 6 a.m., drink the whole pot throughout the morning, 6 to 12 intermittent fast. I was just working all morning, deep work, go to the gym at 12, get Chipotle, come home, take sales calls and client calls till nighttime, and then have dinner.
And then repeat.
I did that for like 6 months plus. Like it was a grind. I don't even remember like what it was like being in the moment. Like I kind of blacked out.
Yeah, it's a nightmare, bro.
Yeah, it was like a Rocky cutscene for sure. Like that was that was my Rocky cutscene.
1000%, bro. And to touch up on that, right? You hit up on something important about like that routine of just grinding that out. There's something that you also mentioned that I want to tap into, right? Like you've talked about in a previous podcast, and I'll let you finish this, where it's like, if everything went to shit, you would do one specific job to kind of like get it back and kind of cut through that Rocky scene. What exactly is that job? Was it DM setter or was it something else?
Oh yeah, at the time I said DM setter. That must have been pre-AI craze though, because I think my answers definitely changed. At the time I was like, I'd go rip because I'm a great setter. Like if I wanted to, I could jump in and be a DM setter. I'd personally be it because I'm an introvert, right? I don't want to be on high ticket sales calls all day. So I would rip DM setting to 10K a month, like 100%, even 5 to 8K a month. But like ripping DM setting to 5+ K a month would 100% be my like quick one. But I think nowadays, like I'd probably DM set while also building something with like AI, some sort of like, let me think. You know what? I feel like I wouldn't build like a SaaS. I'd probably just rebuild the Birdhouse. To be honest, I would DM set, but I'd probably just rebuild the Birdhouse. I think my answers changed a lot, honestly, because I'm just like I forget what the way that the question was answered, but I was like, if I was somebody else's shoes, what would I do? I would DM set, but if I'm in my own shoes, I'd just restart this company.
Is that like the similar? Because I saw on your account X that you recently posted, like you're looking to hire someone. Is that effectively what you're looking for right now, like a DM setter?
No, literally, yeah, we're hiring a DM setter in my line. I mean, I had to build my own setter hire pipeline because I hire sales reps so often because we work with clients who need sales reps, and sales reps it's a high churn position. Like a lot of sales reps, especially BDRs and SDRs, which is essentially a precursor to like a high ticket sales job or a closing role. I mean, a lot of the lifespans of this role can be anywhere from 6 to 12 months. So every 6 to 12 months, you multiply that by how many clients we have. It's a lot of fucking setters. I'm hiring setters virtually every month.
Right. And so when you hire the DM setter, like how exactly does it work? Like in plain English, like they're DMing people on your behalf. Like how exactly does that work?
Yeah. We create content that drives in leads for our clients, and they need somebody in the DMs to handle those leads.
Okay. I got what you're saying.
Typically rich and busy. So a lot of times most of them have sales teams, but they might need, we come in and bring additional lead flow that exceeds the limit of what they can handle. So they need to hire more people.
So then with the DM setter, they're effectively like booking their calendar, or are they putting them to a sales call? Like,
yeah, exactly. They're booking them onto sales calls for their client sales teams.
Okay. Got you. Yeah. Cause I was looking at that. I felt like through the research, I could understand high level. But like I've never had my own like DM setter, so I wasn't exactly
Yeah.
sure
Yeah, I'd
how
say
that
like,
works.
if we have clients that don't have like a sales call model, then obviously they don't need a setter. But like clients who
Got
do
you.
have sales call models need the setter.
Got you. So, Marcos, what's something you're looking forward to in the next 5 years? You have a fiance. You're cooking with the
Mm,
Birdhouse. Talk to me
yeah,
about
yeah.
some of your future, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I'd say, personal. I'm getting married next year, so
Congrats, man.
I'm looking forward to that from a personal perspective. I think from a business perspective, I'm looking forward to continue obviously building the company. We do big offsites every 6 months, so every 2 quarters, so twice a year, semi-annual, where I fly out the whole team. We do in person. We just did one last week up here in New Hampshire. So I'm looking forward to doing those bigger and better. We always vlog them too, so that should be up on my channel soon. Um, but I think longer term, I'm really looking forward to growing it, potentially getting an office space. I'd like to get our own office space here at some point in the next few years. So, um, yeah, I think those are like the big ones.
Amazing, man. I really enjoyed this one, dude. Like, there were so many different things where I feel like people are gonna tap in and relate so hard. Like, just with the forex and the drop shipping and all that. Like, I've
Yeah.
lived that myself, so it's cool to see someone else's like origin story and see where you're at now is amazing, man. And I wish you all the best, dude.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Would love to do it again sometime. It was definitely a blast. Down
Hell
memory
yeah,
lane for sure.
hell yeah, bro. All right, cheers, Marcos. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it. Yep.